Perfect. Great. Hello and welcome. Welcome again to Web3 Summit here in Berlin. After lunchtime, I hope you're all having some coffee and are ready for our first panel at this conference. We have amazing speakers. I'm very excited about this discussion. A very interesting constellation here actually on stage. My name is Zoe. I'm VP and partner at Fala Network, an AI co-processor, and I will be moderating this discussion about the decentralized or the progress in the decentralized AI tech stack today. A topic that some of you guys might be a bit tired of already or super excited. I think we have both opposites also here as speakers represented on stage. And before we start, maybe we can get a little bit of a temperature check here in the room. Who of you guys is actually building with AI in crypto or solo AI? We can't see that much actually, but there are some builders, okay.
There's 3 people. Thank you.
I think 5.
Each and every one.
And who of you guys is a bit pessimistic about crypto and AI or AI within crypto?
That's a lot less pessimistic.
That's not that many. Okay, cool. I think that will be
I think they're just scared to admit it.
I feel like even I'm more pessimistic than that.
Yeah, do we raise our hands?
You can raise your hand too, please, guys. Okay, I think it was also good for the speakers to get a little bit of an idea of the room here. And to introduce you guys again, we have Lex here, who is partner at Generative Ventures. He's also a CMO, right, at Consensus, a thought leader in AI, and you're publishing a lot of papers or research, also papers on AI and crypto. Welcome to Berlin today.
Thank you for having me.
We have Hate, who is co-founder and CEO of Zokyo, smart contract auditing firm, really focusing on the security side, bringing AI into crypto for security audits, and also background into ventures. So I think you're bridging the gap nicely here in the speakers, because we have also Harry here, back on stage at Web3 Summit, the CEO at NIM, a super privacy expert. Maybe a bit pessimistic about AI. Let's see this today. And welcome back. You have been here 2018 and 19 as well.
I'm glad to be back. It's been a while. So.
How is it to be back on stage?
Looks the same. The lighting may have changed a little bit.
Great. Perfect. So let's start with the introduction question. We dive into it directly. Just want to say that at the moment where we're standing with AI, we might be actually trusting AI more than we have the truth behind AI, right? That's why we try to put it in a decentralized AI tech stack. But I would like to hear, maybe starting with you, Lex, because you're really you see a lot of use cases. What, if we start from the high-level tech stack, right? The applications or the use cases. What are some of the use cases you see in the multi-agent system today?
Sounds good. And there's it's a very dense topic, so I'll try to think about it from the perspective that's relevant to crypto people, right? Because in crypto, we chase a lot of stuff. So like, is this just another thing that we're all chasing? And I think it's very fair to bring skepticism to the topic because, again, we do this often in crypto where we will run an idea up and then in 6 months we'll batter it into Ponzi-nomic oblivion until everyone's lost money. And that's the good part of it. And everyone's like really tense, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's okay to relax. So for me, the interesting part about AI as it overlaps with crypto is that generative AI in particular is, in the smallest way, labor productivity, right? So we can do like the science fiction and the brain uploading and AGI, and we're all going to be on Soylent Greens and the blueprint and upload it to the metaverse. But before that happens, people are going to be just a little bit more productive from using generative AI, right? That's the smallest claim you can make. And I think in crypto, one of the things that's really missing is that we have all these financial services, but we don't really have a very functional economy. Mm-hmm. And generative AI is labor productivity, therefore it creates GDP. That GDP is profoundly digital, right? It's not going to make sandwiches, it's not going to run a laundromat, it's going to make digital goods and services, largely text and images. And by the way, blockchains are the economic architecture for owning and transacting in text and images. So blockchains are financial systems, and then AI, from my perspective, is an economic or like a GDP producing system. And so you've got an economy and a financial system, and that starts to kind of balance out and potentially gets crypto out of the derivative financial hellscape in which we've been trapped for the last 5 years. So I'm both really optimistic and pessimistic. But then to get to your question of like AI agents, I think the dream is this multi-agent economy where I own software robots that maybe sit in my wallet. You have software robots that sit in your wallet. Those software robots have learned how you look and how you think and how you speak and what you want to do with some amount of training, data, and so on. And then they do things on your behalf, right? Whether that's in today's world, trading on an agent network, or spending some sort of money in a payments context, or performing labor on your behalf. Going on social media, doing things that you would do, or being a creator, making videos, and so on, and then interacting. And that's kind of the dream where the new economy comes in. I think we're really far away from that. Most of what we see from the venture perspective is really sort of basic, which is experienced wrappers on top of large models. So if anyone, how many people have used ChatGPT or another? I mean, so you understand what it means to put a face on Cthulhu, right? So you're interacting with something that solving a problem for you. And then we're seeing companion stuff. So websites like Character AI, where you might create a travel planner or some sort of anime character, or there's a lot of sort of adult content as well. So people are starting to build out the agents, but I think we're still quite a bit of work away from having these things interact.
Mm-hmm. And if we, so multi-agent systems, we are not there yet, our favorite word in crypto coming soon. If we talk about agents specifically, right? We talked about applications or the use case. If we go into like the agents in the tech stack, you mentioned them already, but Harte, to you the question, what part of autonomous agents should live on-chain or off-chain, and why, from your perspective?
Well, my mind for agents, when I hear agents, I've spent a lot of time thinking about AI agents specifically in crypto for security. And we've been thinking about how can we use AI to, help us with smart contract auditing, so that, I mean, one of the main reasons when you audit a smart contract today, what you're paying for is somebody who is an ethical hacker, who understands the language you built in, either Solidity or Rust, and can take their time to make sure that the words in your white paper and the vision of what you want to build is actually being executed in the code. And what they're finding themselves is usually manually, they're finding logic flaws. And AI is helping them kind of focus on finding those logic flaws right now. And so people are launching these AI audit tools, but an AI audit is not a complete audit. And so I've been interested in seeing automation of AI security. I've been interested to see AI agents acting like a blockchain firewall, where you can automatically detect and remediate security threats and anomalies before they even happen. So you're monitoring every single transaction in the mempool and flicking a kill switch to not even let the transaction hit the chain. Or trusted encryption, trusted execution, TEE.
Trusted execution environment.
Yes. All these words, TEE, FH.
FHE.
There's too many letters.
ETF.
NFT. Yeah, I'm losing it. Trusted.
My favorite encryption is the ETF encryption on Bitcoin.
Yeah, so
not to interrupt, but sorry.
No, it's all good. I was losing it with the letters. A lot of those encryption techniques were, what the thought is how can I keep something encrypted without giving up on privacy? Whether it's doing it on the device and capturing that data on the device so it never leaves the device, and isolating it, which I believe they call federated. But that's at the moment too expensive, and it's not a solution, at least at the moment. I'll just pause there, I guess.
You touched on a lot of things already, also costs and everything that we want to dive into later on. Important to discuss in the tech stack. Harry, over to you. Maybe you want to give a statement of your overall perception of a decentralized AI. Lex already said he's like pro and con. And if you want to dive into like agents specifically, on-chain or off-chain, and why?
Yeah. So I mean, I have a talk on Wednesday called "Destroying the AI Surveillance Complex." So I think if you want to see that, you'll get obviously my opinions are somewhat contrarian on this, but they're not contrarian just because I like privacy, although I do support privacy. I'm worried about surveillance, but they're contrarian because I worked on AI, right? So I have a PhD in the philosophy in AI under Andy Clark. I built a language model like 2009, 2010. We tried to deploy it as kind of replacement for search engines, a search engine who's I don't think I'm allowed to say. And yeah, I've been interested in the field for a while. And even in 2009, on relatively small data sets, LMs, because they weren't large back then, language models that were generative, that can produce text, seem to function fairly well. But I think the real danger, what I've seen is the discourse on AI has gotten a bit out of hand, and it's out of hand for a very simple reason, which is that people believe that these are agents, and so when I meet a person, I attribute agency to them, intentionality, as Daniel Dennett would say. I believe they have beliefs and thoughts, and they're doing things, they have a plan, they reason, somewhat like myself. And it's very natural to do that with ChatGPT. It's just the Turing test reinvented. However, what should be remembered is that the agents themselves, or the ChatGPT as a thing, does not have agency as such, and it's not your agent. It's not your slave, which is where a lot of this agent talk comes from, acting on your behalf, going out and searching things for you. It's the reverse, where the agency behind ChatGPT is OpenAI. It is Sam Altman. They have built these tools. These two tools, they make them think that they're working for you, maybe for free, but you're working for them. A lot of the intelligence in these tools is like a perverse reflection of our own intelligence. When we type into prompts, it's learning from those prompts, and it's regurgitating to us statistically based on our prompt and a large neural network of the entire internet. So I think, and the goal of OpenAI, similar to the goal of Google or Microsoft or any other large Silicon Valley company, is to monopolize your attention, to manipulate you, to pull your strings, so to speak, and to maybe get you further from the concept of truth. So I think on that level, I am not excited by the AI discourse, even if philosophically I believe, yeah, of course, why not? We could probably evolve more intelligent beings than ourselves using technology at some point. It's theoretically possible. I just don't think ChatGPT is it, or any of these agents. And then the other question I have is what is a possible role of blockchain in this space? Obviously, you combine two buzzwords, where two buzzwords is better than one buzzword, then you can raise double the funding, and I understand.
Exponential, actually. It's
what?
It's exponential.
Exponential, yeah. Why not? Now, I don't know, I'm now, Cardano AI or something, but, or Polygon AI, or NIM AI,
stop it.
or Grok AI. But regardless, and that being said, there is a vision within the space of decentralization that somehow these technologies could serve us rather than serving the puppet masters that have built the current technologies. And that's, I think, a good intuition. And then maybe you say blockchain has something to do with this. And maybe it's something like cryptographic protection of content. That's very interesting, although we don't want to build DRM systems. Maybe it's GPU markets. Obviously, GPUs are somewhat of a high-priced item. Personalized AI, I'm a little bit more dubious because, again, who's personalizing? Is it really me, or is someone personalizing to get me to do something? And so I think these questions need to be taken into account. And then what's put on chain versus what's not put on chain? How can you verify or inspect or audit the algorithm? Some of that, I think, would be usefully put on chain. Other parts of it, like can you actually decentralize a neural network fully, not using current tech or anything like transformer models that I know of. So yeah.
Okay, more questions than answers. No, thank you for your very, very input. And I think to summarize maybe the state of the agents, we can also, when we talk about autonomous agents as of today, they act more like interns. I've heard this analogy lately, right? An intern, you give them prompts, they execute them, but you still have to trust them that they do it right. If we want to get to really autonomous AI agents, we want to hire like a senior manager, right? Where they execute these tasks autonomous. Have you seen, Lex, maybe last comment from your side on agents, have you seen progress on this autonomous agents more working towards the senior manager lately?
Yeah, I have an answer to your question. I want to respond to
Please.
some of the. I wish we had more time to open that up because there's so much delicious stuff in what you're saying. I guess I have a slightly different reaction to it because I think what AI is like tea leaves. Everyone just projects their feelings on it and then tells a story about it. My story is that it's not that people will say the technology is so special, or it's like it's being engineered towards consciousness or AGI or something like that, or that it solved these big problems of speech and so on. And the way I've internalized it is it's not that the that the mathematics that gets you the probabilistic answer of inference is special, but rather that we as humans are not special. Like to me, it's not the technology that feels more magic; it's that our human reasoning feels less magic. So the things that you've described as the danger of surveillance, or in broad strokes, the danger of technology or philosophy to organize, or culture to organize people into some particular mode of action, right? That like you're manipulated into some sort of action. To me, that feels like that's not an AI thing. That's just like a human society thing. Like if you roll it back 2,000 years, it wouldn't be AI like tilting you towards particular action. It would be the religious book, right? Or it would be the local culture. And I think technology is just a reflection of the aggregated human condition. Now it just happens to be programmed and much more efficient. And so to connect that point to the intern, I do think, going back to the economic argument, that the kind of the jobs that are at risk, or the value that's at risk, is the sort of low skill to mid-skill white-collar labor. And in most professions, you're going to have people who apprentice over time. And I think AI makes a pretty good apprentice, and it does break the labor model in my mind quite a bit, because just in our practice, for a whole bunch of things around content, around analysis, around image generation, first versions of things, we have chosen AI tools because they function really well, and I think over time they will end up getting better. But the way, again, I look at that labor is not like some sort of thing outside of humanity. It is just the summarization of everything that people have done, and then an ability to feed it back to us. So I don't think that's a problem. I think that's correct for the body of human knowledge. And then in terms of making that autonomous, we've seen like really sophisticated bots and then really dumb bots, and both are being developed today. So one of our favorite projects is the OLAS ecosystem, which is really like super crypto native AI agent stuff, right? And I think it's probably been discussed today already, but all the science fiction stories about you're going to have a software robot that can have a wallet on chain that it can control and spend, and then that robot can go to different venues, whether it's a trading venue or a DAO governance venue or some other place where there's a financial action, because again, blockchains are financial systems. And then it can do inference to a model off-chain, and maybe it gets ZK'd or TEE'd or whatever it is to make sure that the model is real or not. And you bring that inference back and you make some sort of trading decision, right? So like, if you want the buzzword soup, it's everything from polymarket and prediction markets to payment systems. All that stuff is happening. And I think there's a little bit of that going on. But the reality is it's so early stage that there's no kind of industrial action there. It's really just people experimenting with these new little software lives. On the other hand, you have stuff like on Telegram where people are getting, they're deploying some sort of network of 200,000 users that are interacting with an AI agent, and the AI agent is just like a button you click to enter into a lottery to win a Bitcoin that day. So like the AI agent that makes people gamble and click a button is useless, is kind of, I think, an abuse of the responsibility of the crypto industry to build something meaningful. But that's where a lot of the attention is. So for me, there's this profound tension.
Would you like to comment, or otherwise
we could go on. We could go on for days. For me, what's ringing in my brain still is when he brought up the concept of the elephant in the room, which is, are we going to let these Silicon Valley very large organizations have this much centralized control?
Exactly.
And are we going to be able to align what, there's a book called Satoshi's Vision, and it's a collection of all of Satoshi's notes. And I find that at crypto or Web3 summits, not enough people remember this book or have read this book. And it's occasionally, I think, important to revisit the book and understand what was Satoshi's original vision. It's a collection of all the notes from Satoshi. And marrying, I think, Satoshi's vision with where we are today in AI, I think it's important to try to find some sort of marriage there. But the speed at which centralization is moving and the monetization, and it's hard to keep up with because they are, like he said, on a mission to monopolize our attention, which leads to their ability to predict our behavior and actually manipulate it. And then meanwhile, from a security side, we're trying to solve for like fully homomorphic encryption. And there's a company in Paris that I've been following, I think they're called Zama, right? And like everything they're releasing is open source, but I'm not seeing that as a viable solution today because FHE is too expensive. So I just find myself a little bit frustrated watching this. Like, I actually agree with the ethics of NIM, and I agree with a lot of the things said by folks like Edward Snowden. But I mean, look at the fight that they're up against. I mean, even looking at how NIM has been going. I mean, it's been it's a tough.
Okay.
I applaud him and the NIM guys, the DarkFi guys. Like, these are warriors that are up against Sam Altman plus VCs, and not enough of us are giving them the credit deserved.
I mean,
think
onto the autonomy point.
Totally not trying to put smoke in the gas.
Yeah. I mean, onto the autonomy point. I mean, obviously, it is an uphill battle, but the Roman Empire also fell, and we're definitely in that sort of period with the American Empire right now. I mean, it's going to be really exciting soon, and may you live in exciting times is a curse. On the question of autonomy, I think the question is, again, who has the autonomy? That's what I was leaning towards earlier. I do think, I mean, I like it when my computer can do things for me, and I have more time because it lets me do more interesting things with my life. And I think, I can imagine AI is quite useful for people who are illiterate, who are trying to do searches over the web. I imagine it is quite useful for myself in terms of coding, quite useful for chatbots.
As an illiterate person, I totally agree.
But no, I mean, I lived in Lebanon for a while. Like, I saw people who were using WhatsApp but couldn't type. They just kind of remembered the buttons, but they couldn't use Google because they couldn't talk to Google, which now you can do. So I think there are legitimate use cases. And there are probably some, I mentioned them earlier with blockchain tech. But I just want to remind people that the whole point of autonomy is that, at least the theory of autonomy, is that humans are autonomous because we have free will, we can make rational decisions. Maybe it's not true, but we believe we can. That's our self-image. And the danger we have with when we give, particularly, I'm very skeptical. I know Ben Gersel, I've been on PhD committees with him, but I'm skeptical of the AGI claims insofar as that I feel that it's giving autonomy to the language model, and what is it that fed the language model? What fed the language model is all the text on the internet, Common Crawl, Internet Archive, right? That's where the data came from. So when you think the language model is intelligent, what is actually intelligent is you. Maybe not you personally, maybe you have a very dumb question, but collectively, that humanity has produced this knowledge, which has then been put into a statistical model, and that's quite useful. But you want to avoid the trap of what I call reification, where when you treat a person like an object and an object like a person, and that's one of the dangers in AI, is that we treat objects like people. The famous quote from Marx, very dubious character, but nonetheless a good quote, where he says, the problem is that you don't want to treat a woman like a table and a table like a woman. This is wrong, right? This is terrible. And I do want to avoid that with AI. We got to think, what's the real use cases and how could it be better privacy preserving or protected or decentralized in some form?
Where do you fall on, if you mind me asking, where do you fall on the monetization of data for an individual?
I mean, it sounds good on paper, right? Like I was like, if I had my data and I could make like $5 on it, I could buy a Fritz Cola or something. But that's about probably how much your data is worth. And I think the danger, and the monetization data really does not work on the individual level. It works on aggregate and cohorts, and that will not be available to individuals. So I think this kind of like weird kind of concept that maybe we would be free if we could sell and buy and sell our data, that's kind of probably not going to work for the same reason. A lot of AI is going to be very hard to decentralize because centralized players will make more money than you can as an individual.
Okay, thank you so much. You touched already on the models when we want to, because zooming out a little bit, and we have to look also after the time, zooming out and coming back to the topic of the panel is the decentralized AI stack, and we covered like the use cases, the AI agents. We wanted to discuss the models actually a bit more, where fully homomorphic encryption, trusted execution environments come into play, and to give the audience maybe a bit more hope, there are approaches to actually verify these models, to do verified inferences for AI models, where we use trusted execution environments on GPU clouds and so on. I don't think we have enough time today to discuss this further, but this is actually where it gets very exciting in the tech stack. But just to give the overall view, there are progresses to really verify what the agents are doing when they run on-chain or off-chain. However, it always depends on the input, as Harry said, right?
Yeah. And I would say that, we do, like, FHE is super important. We at NIM are looking at trust execution environments.
Yep.
ZK is obviously important. So these technologies, there is a there. I'm a more believe that there's something very concrete benefit to humanity there, necessarily than language models. So I know the hype has moved to AI, but for folks working on TEE or working on the intersection of these topics with AI, I think it's a very important place to be right now.
It's super needed, yeah, definitely. That's maybe one thing we agree on here in this panel today. I have a closing question. I think we have 1 minute left, and we are in Germany, so I think we have to really stay in time here with this panel. A closing question, you all can reply to this very quickly. If you have access to unlimited GPU, would you be mining or use this GPU for inferring and AI model training? Lex.
Mining anything?
Yeah, but I mean, you need GPU power for model training, right? Or you do crypto mining, of course.
Interesting. I think I would be mining, but I might be mining a bunch of deepin and AI protocols. And I think a lot of our conversation has been about the sort of in the robot. You're building the robot, and we've been talking about the robot brain and whether it has consciousness or whether it's being pulled, but the strings are being pulled. There's the whole body. There's the whole robot body, right? So from GPU to the data that's being used, to the training, to the tuning, then to in crypto, you've got all the incentive networks on which you can put all the different brains, right? So it doesn't have to be hosted by OpenAI. It can be run on different networks and then incentivized through crypto networks. So I think if I had some GPU to waste, I would probably point it at figuring out who are the early networks in crypto that are doing interesting structural things, not making better models, but doing interesting structural things about how incentives and AI tokens interact, and probably participate in as many of them as possible to learn. Just like when DeFi came around, the best thing you could do is try things out and see what works and what doesn't. I would do exactly the same thing here.
Cool. Yeah, TE verification on GPU, very hot for AI. If you have access to this, that would be my answer. Hate, please.
That's cool. I like your idea, but maybe I'm more risk averse. I would just mine Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Make money to invest in AI.
yeah, and
Do the right thing.
NIM actually, the concept of when we mix data together, we add noise to data that adds computation. And the concept kind of came to me in part when I talked to Adam Back, who invented proof of work. And I said, Adam, I know you're not Satoshi, but like, what could you do with all this CPU power? It's like, what would be good if we could use it for privacy? So, and I think that that's a genuine truth that we have. I do think the cost of CPU and GPU power will go down, minus, again, possible giant war with Taiwan. And if so, then we will expect to have more and more computational power at our hands. And maybe this will solve some of these issues. But I would recommend that people try to use that computational power for things that enable humanity rather than not. And there's a lot of things that don't enable humanity, and there's quite a few limited things that do. And I hope you know what they are.
Thank you so much. We have to close this panel discussion here. Thank you so much to the speaker. Thank you so much to the audience. I think you're all around for another chat on AI. See you around.